I've had a strange relationship with the Mission Impossible movies. I don't know what I mean by that, beyond I've always harbored a kind of subconscious resentment of them. They're good movies, for the most part, but for some reason, I just... whenever I think of them, I always just... there's just something about them that pisses me off. I don't know why. It's like this person at the office who you just don't like for some reason. They seem affable, they get along with everybody, but there's just something about them. And that's Mission Impossible for me, the movies. I think it might be because I have a particular moral standard. I always try to honor the past. I think that's very important. And to get off the ground, the Mission Impossible movies really did sort of crap all over the original series by making the protagonist into the villain. But, you know, I'm trying to move past that now, trying to just let that go and enjoy this movie for what it's worth. So I saw it in the theaters. This was the first Mission Impossible movie I actually saw in the theater, as best I can recall. And it was very good. I'd like to think that maybe I've gotten over my stumbling block where the Mission Impossible movies are concerned. Maybe I can just like them for what they're worth now. In some ways, this was a very formulaic film. It hit many of the action beats that I expect. I was able to see a lot of them coming, like telegraph punches, like oh, Jeremy Renner's betraying them. Oh no, he's actually playing a long game. He's really a good guy all along. Yes, of course I saw that coming the second they did it. The unmasking scene, I saw that coming from a mile away. I don't even know how. I think it was just because the guy who Tom Cruise was pretending to be resembled the guy that he did the unmasking scene with in the first place in the first movie. And I don't know, I just saw it. It was like a psychic projection. I knew that was him under the mask. And of course, there are plot holes. Like in the last part of the movie, the good guys start using these tranquilizer darts, which have truth serum in them. If that's widely accessible to the spy community, why don't they use it more often? I mean, trust is a big issue in this film. Who can the good guys trust? Who can the bad guys trust? Well, why don't they just start shooting the damn darts? You know? I mean, the bad guy, the Solomon, the villain of this film, you know, he's like, I wonder if I can trust you. I wonder what your excuses will be while he's pawing at the heroine who's undercover. Why didn't he just shoot her with a dart? Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe actual spies have immunized themselves to this, like they do with the lie detectors. But that seems a little bit... Never mind. Like maybe they should have tricked the bad guys into admitting instead of using truth serum. Never mind. Just... It's like with Batman's darts in the last Batman film. Why didn't he just use those on Bane? That bugged me right from as I got in the car. Anyway, one thing I will give this movie credit for, it turned things around a little in the end. It didn't end with a big explosive finale. They managed to catch the bad guy alive. I thought that was so cool, because you so rarely see that. And James Bond, he always kills the bad guy, except for a few times. There were a few times when he brought the bad guy in alive, and I like it when he does that. And I liked it when they did that in this movie, so... kudos to them for that. I thought it was just really cool, because a lot of times when the bad guy dies, I'm kind of resentful, because I want to see them brought to justice. And it feels almost like a cop-out, just to see them croak. But no, they brought him in alive. That was cool. I like this movie for that, so that's a definite point in its favor. Something they address in this film, though, is the element of luck to action heroes. Because in the beginning, you see these bureaucrats and politicians arguing against the IMF's existence. And, by the way, why don't we one day have a Mission Impossible movie in which Tom Cruise isn't put on the government's blacklist and hunted by his own people. Have you noticed? That is the plot of every single one of these. Except for the second one, I guess. I haven't seen it. Apparently it's like the really sucky one. But that's every single one. Ethan Hunt always has to go on the run from his own government. It's going to be weird when they eventually make a Mission Impossible movie where he actually acts with the full cooperation of his government, although maybe it'll suck like Mission Impossible 2 again. But we were talking about luck. One thing I hate in a lot of action films is how important it is for the hero to get lucky. There's this scene in Triple X 2, State of the Union, with Ice Cube. I think it was Ice Cube. I have trouble remembering actors' names when they're just objects, I think. Anyway, he's swimming around. He's swimming from a battleship underwater, and there are all these bullets zinging around him, and they all miss him just by luck. It's sheer good fortune that the hero doesn't die, and that happens a lot in the Mission Impossible movies too. They acknowledge it. They're like, how lucky can the IMF organization be? When will their luck run out? Well, in this movie, it doesn't run out here because there are so many times when the good guys succeed through sheer luck. They don't exactly do anything to address this in a resolved fashion. They don't resolve it, but they do approach it, kind of. So I can appreciate that too. What I would like to see for the next film, I'd like to see them redeem Jim Phelps. Because I always thought it was a shame that the original actor never got a chance to return to the role. He said that he wanted to restore honor to the character. They can do that. They just make a computer-generated face like he's recording a message or something, and I'm hopping around here. I think maybe that's why I've resented the Mission Impossible movies up to this point. Because they just didn't quite pay homage to what has come before. And I always try to give credit to the elders, to what our society, what our culture is built on. Gray hair should be a mark of honor, not something to be ashamed of. But our society is kind of backward in that way. We take pride in youth and shame old age. That's just wrong. Where was I going with this? With any of this? I don't know. I liked the movie. It was a good movie. Fun movie. Plot holes, sure, there are some. But Simon Pegg's a delight, as always. Tom Cruise, credible action hero. I think he actually has started to hammer out a kind of personality for Ethan Hunt. That's been one of my criticisms of the Mission Impossible films, is that Ethan Hunt himself is kind of a cipher. He's just whoever the action hero needs to be per plot. He doesn't have many distinguishing characteristics, but maybe now we're starting to get to know him a little. Like, he's a bit irreverent. He has this look like he can't quite believe what's going on around him, but he'll improvise. I can't put it into words easily, but I think that they're approaching making him a real human being. He's a real boy, finally. A little. Speaking of computer effects, why do they still look so fake? Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. I used to think that eventually CGI would get so advanced we just wouldn't be able to tell the difference between reality and CGI, but we still haven't managed to get past that uncanny valley. I guess it's deeper than I thought it was. Alright, that's all I've got for right now. Maybe I'll think of something later. Good movie, though. Fun time. Fun times. Not the best movie ever, but hey, pretty damn good for a Mission Impossible flick. If it can get me to like that series of films just a little more, good for them. It had a lot of the things that I thought a spy movie, well, that I want there to be in a spy movie. It had a big guy holding the hero by the neck. I love that.